Hey, what's up? My name is Leif, and this is the Vegan Gym Podcast. I am joined by Coach Tom, one of the awesome coaches on our team, and Chris Patterson, who is one of our clients. He's been in the program for a long time. And today we've got a really cool conversation. We're going to be talking about the differences between short-term and long-term thinking when it comes to accomplishing our goals. Maybe not just for health and fitness, but also in kind of all aspects of life. So really great to have both of you guys here. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Cool. All right. Well, could you get into a little bit more detail, Tom, on what we're going to talk about and kind of tee up the conversation?
Yeah, sure. So I find like training goals really fascinating. Different people's opinions of like what a goal should be. The difference between people's mindset with a goal. I think that can set you up for either failure at success or success. The differences between a short-term and a long-term goal are something that I've had experience with myself. And we'll have a chat about like our experiences with short-term goals. I think sometimes people have a tendency to want to have a positive experience immediately. They want to like gain something now. I want to achieve something tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Which is great, but it's kind of setting us up for a bit of a failure because the chances of us of meeting that goal is quite low. And even if we do meet it, what's next? Where are we going to go next? So I find it really fascinating looking at people's mindset with their goals, whether it's a huge goal that's like 5 years in a time broken up into mini goals, or it's I just want to achieve this now. So that's my opinion of what a short-term and a long-term goal looks like. I would love to know from you, Chris, like if I said to you, what's the short-term goal? Like, what's your first impression? Do you have an example? Have you ever had a short-term goals?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. The first thing that comes to mind for me as far as like a short-term goal, before I joined VSA, a lot of times you'd have like the office pool where you'd say, okay, this is going to be a weight loss challenge. And in 90 days or 30 days or whatever it is, we're going to see here's your starting weight, here's your end weight, who lost the most weight. Sometimes there's like percentages, ratios, there's all kinds of complicated ways to say, okay, we all want to be healthier. We're going to all keep each other accountable. We'll gamify it. We'll make it a challenge. We're going to see who can lose this weight. And I love a challenge. Of course, the problem with there is like, okay, so this challenge is going to start on January 1st. So December 14th, I'm just going to start stuffing my face, getting as heavy as I can so that I have an advantage going into this competition. So I have an easier time to lose the weight. And so then, you do what you're supposed to do as far as trying to lose weight. You start eating healthy. Maybe you start exercising as well. Next thing you know, the challenge comes to the end and your first, your second, your third, you had a great amount, you had great success and you've lost that weight. But then, okay, well, people are still going to think, okay, well, it's Easter time. We should probably do that challenge again. Why don't we go ahead and set that up again? And you think to yourself, okay, well, it felt fun winning last time. So I'm going to go ahead and gain a bunch of weight, get into this challenge heavier than I normally am, and then diet down a little bit below what my comfortable set point might be. And then there you are again, thinking, all right, great. I won the challenge. Feels good. But then you go back to all those bad habits and you don't really get healthier in the end. So that's what I think of when you talk about a short-term goal.
Yeah. And I find it really interesting that for me is almost the definition of like a yo-yo style of training, isn't it? Like I've achieved this goal. I'm going to relax now. And then I'm going to do it again. And you're just repeating the same thing. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think people get to the end of that goal and then just like stop?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I've learned in VSA is that you can't just have your 90-day challenge. So there was an initial 90-day introduction to this. And when I talked about joining the group, I was actually talking with Leif's sister, Elke, was explaining the program to me and my wife and saying, well, this is what we're looking to do. This is your initial 90 days introduction to, vegan eating, cooking, a lot of the things that I didn't have yet, as well as more fitness included there. But I kept saying, okay, well, all right, great. Yeah, I love a 90-day challenge. And she's like, whoa. We got to stop right here. This isn't a challenge. This is a new lifestyle. So with challenges, you think, all right, it's a finish line, but really the finish line is like Dr. Batiste said the other day, no one gets out of this life alive. So, you keep going until your last day. It's not, you don't get to an end point. So I think one of the biggest problems for people in thinking about short-term mindset is like, oh, this was a challenge. I did some healthy habits. Now I can stop and go back to all my old unhealthy habits. Like say I was, 190 pounds, and I know that I probably feel a lot better when I'm 170 pounds. So my goal is to lose 20 pounds. I get to 170 pounds and yeah, I feel better. All these things that I've done made me feel a lot better. And then I get to 170 pounds and I think I can go back to doing the exact same things that I was doing at 190 pounds. Well, sooner than you really, really, really want, you're back at 190 pounds.
Yeah. And that's like, I finished that goal.
Yeah.
The
Health
end.
Yeah. Health and fitness doesn't have an end.
No. And I think that's the difference between the short-term mindset and the long-term mindset. Like I am all for having short-term goals because that keeps us accountable. If the goal is so far in the future, it's really hard to see that sometimes because it could be years in advance. That short-term goal is important, but once you reach that, that's like you say, I hit 170 pounds. Yeah. So what's the next goal to go forward? And that could just be maintaining, I think. Like, okay, I've got this. Now my goal is to see how long I can hold on to it for. And then we find another goal. And that for me is the difference between that short-term thinking, long-term thinking. So yeah, I like the challenges. I think we're kind of on the same wavelength there. Someone's going to give me the challenge. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to try and get there before you. And then going from there.
So how have you found, both of you, structuring short-term goals within the context of longer term goals, and also the kind of ultimate goal of creating a long-term sustainable health and fitness lifestyle? So those kind of three pieces, the short-term goals, long-term goals, and then the ultimate goal, as you kind of touched on right there, Chris, of creating a certain healthy, fit lifestyle. And then you never give that up. The goal is to continue maintaining what you have been working on. So how do you kind of think about those three working together?
The overall goal of a healthy lifestyle is I think what a lot of people really want, but it's really vague. So not having something specific to work towards is either going to lead you to being scattershot and doing all kinds of different things and not having enough focus in any one direction to really find or feel success. Long-term goals, I think for me, having a long-term goal is critical of, say, I haven't run a marathon before, but I want to learn how. And I'm going to work towards getting enough fitness to run a marathon, maybe in a specific time, or maybe just to finish a marathon. I'm not going to be able to do that in a short term, because for me, short term, I'm thinking like something that's going to happen in maybe 30 to 90 days. So it's going to take a little bit of time to work towards that without having incremental steps along the way of, well, first, I got to get off the couch. I'm going to do my couch to 5K program. Then I'm going to work up, okay, well, 5K feels comfortable. It feels achievable. Let's work on 10K. Let's work on 20K. Let's work on half marathon. And then maybe look at time if that's important. Working towards those incremental steps is going to give me motivation to finally get to that long-term goal. And being able to be someone who does marathons, half marathons, someone who lifts on a regular basis and, continually finds new challenges in the gym, whatever sport or activity that you have that leads to that lifelong health and fitness, you got to have a specific goal that's a big, scary, audacious goal. And then you got to have little steps along the way so that you do get that little boost, that win that says, yeah, I got it. Mm-hmm. And so it's those short-term motivators along the way. And then also, if it's a big enough goal, for me, like maybe I'm going to lose focus. Maybe I'm going to lose intensity. It's hard to hold your breath for 25 minutes straight, but you can hold your breath for 25 minutes across the period of a day if you hold it for a minute at a time. So you have your intense training, and then you can dial it back after you hit that goal. And then you're going to have like another intense burst, and then you can dial it back and just keep moving towards that same direction. And with those intense bursts, you're going to kind of supercharge your way towards that larger goal.
Yeah. So like you're accumulating the hours of doing something rather than trying to just do it in a chunk. Yeah, I'm going to kind of jump on your question with that really, Leif, and say, if what do we do when the end term goal isn't a goal? It's not a specific thing. Like you were saying, like just having health and fitness. Like how is that measurable? What do we do if that long term goal is hard to measure? How would you approach a long term goal that isn't necessarily quantifiable?
Yeah. So I don't know if this really relates back, but there was an analogy that I heard years and years and years ago that is something that's motivated me to really push towards health and fitness. And it's kind of from a financial realm in a way. And it's thinking about like saving for retirement. So saving for retirement financially, you want to be comfortable financially, but so many people, they get to the end of their career and they've worked so hard and their focus was so much on money that they didn't take the time to make sure that the body that they carry with them into retirement can do all the things that they saved that money for. So in a way, like you can't wait until you're 65 to start being healthy enough to walk across, the Great Wall of China, if that's what you want to do in retirement. You also can't wait until you're 65 to start saving to buy the tickets to make that flight, right? So you gotta put in the work early, and you gotta keep investing. And those small investments over time is what's going to lead you to that bigger goal.
Right. This is your retirement fund.
Yeah.
You put for your body, essentially. Yeah. Then I think the problematic area is that a lot of people get to that point where they still want to do all these goals, but they're 65. And now they're in a short space of time. This is a different mindset, isn't it? You got a long-term goal, trying to put it in a shorter space of time. And sometimes I would feel that would be overwhelming for a lot of people, and the failure would be kind of increased because you're trying to do a lot in a short space of time. When you got a deadline on, you're trying to quickly do things, and maybe taking that, maybe breaking it up and having that longer term mindset, but using shorter goals would be the way to go for somebody in that older category who is discovering health and fitness for the first time. Whereas for somebody on the beginning of their journey in the younger end of the spectrum, it's a long-term retirement fund for your body, but you're going to do it in smaller chunks to measure it as you go through. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, that's a great visual. I've never heard that before. And I think that's a powerful way of viewing it. And I think that just getting older naturally causes you to shift your thinking a little bit more long-term. And I think that's really valuable from a health and fitness perspective. And I think ultimately, I used to view my goals more so through the lens of PRs, like what do I want to hit in the gym? Like how big and strong can I get? And that may be goals that will take a year or two to achieve. And I like the definition of short term that you gave, 30 to 90 days. I think that's probably the same definition I would give. But in the grand scheme of your life, even a few years is relatively short term.
True.
So if I'm focused on deadlifting 550 pounds and that's like my goal that I'm trying to shoot for, I've just realized more and more, especially over the last couple of years, that ultimately what I really want to be able to do is have my vitality, have my physical independence when I'm 95. And I care a lot more about that than deadlifting hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, you could tell your grandkids, oh, yeah, I used to deadlift 550
Yeah.
pounds. It's not going to mean a whole lot if you can't get out of the wheelchair.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Be that old grandpa that says, I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be the grandpa who says, hey, kids, like, hurry up. Like, get over here. You guys are slowing me down.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately what I really care about, is the achievement of that long-term healthy, fit lifestyle. So I've really kind of shifted my perspective more and more long-term as I've gone through my health and fitness journey. So I'd love to hear about kind of your journey in making more of a switch from short-term challenges and short-term weight loss goals or whatever it might be, doing short-term things, to, hey, I want to accomplish some of these longer-term goals. Hey, I don't want to yo-yo anymore. I want to be able to ultimately get to a place where I feel truly healthy, fit, and confident. And then I want to maintain that. So how did you kind of go through that process, and what would you recommend to people who maybe are struggling a little bit more with breaking free of a short-term mindset?
It's a great question. I'll be honest, I didn't recognize my behavior as a yo-yo. And it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I would look down on my nose at people who yo-yo dieted, because I was like, they can't hack it. You know, they fail and then they try again, they fail and they try again, and not realizing that I should have been, that's 4 fingers pointing back at you. You point a finger at somebody else, that's 4 fingers pointing back at you. So I just saw it as, again, I just want to hit this 170 and then I would relax. And, you know, I would relax. I would work hard. I work hard for 30 days, 90 days. And then it might be 6 months, 9 months before I exercised again intentionally. I might show up to a fitness class 2 months later, and then might go to the gym when a friend asks me to a couple months after that. And then the next thing is calendars rolled over to the next year. So one of the things that has really helped me expand my understanding of health and fitness is, like you said, as you get older, you get more perspective. And the analogy that we talked about just a few minutes ago, this is for the long haul. This is not just, a push up or pull up challenge to see who can go from who can do the most pull ups at the end of the month. It's something where we're going to go and see, this is for not only me, but it's for my family. It's for my spouse. It's for my child. It's for grandkids that I might have. It's selfish of me to just not take into consideration the fact that they're counting on me to be there for them. And I want to be there for them. So to kind of break that yo-yo cycle is maybe sometimes, for me, it was opening up and broadening that focus, instead of focusing just on me and what I wanted to do, but focusing on my impact with my inner circle, my immediate family, my broader family, my friends, my community, and, just being there and being able to be present and to be healthy and fit in that moment.
I would like to ask, what would you say to somebody who you could see was in that little cycle that you've been in? Because you're lucky you've come out the other end of it and you've got the life experience to go, I've had mind shift change because I've got my inner circle to look after. What would you say to somebody if you could see that they were in that yo-yo?
It's tough to have those kind of conversations, right? So that's going to be some really soul searching, because I heard the phrase yo-yo, and when I heard it applied to me, it stung. So I can imagine anyone else that I was trying to have that conversation with, that's going to be delicate. If they don't identify as that already, having that conversation to say, hey, I know you like to think of yourself as athletic. I know that you are athletic and you work out, you have fun with it, but it seems like you only do that part of the time. What are you doing with the rest of your time? And how does that kind of fit in a bigger scale, and looking at the scale of time, like Leif was saying, over the scale of a lifetime, as opposed to over the scale of this is what I want to hit. And this is how I'm going to get there in the next short term to medium term. The longest term of our lifetime is, you put in those deposits, and those deposits are going to yield returns. And so again, if you think about only doing a deposit once or twice a year and then expecting that yield to be there for you when you're ready to retire, it's not going to be as much as you really want to be sustained with.
Yeah. And I think that's a sticking point with this as a topic, is that it's very easy to be on one side of the fence, having already gone through that. It's like trying to, explain to your child, this is how to do things. They're always going to say no. And then you end up realizing that you're being your mom and dad saying, don't do this. You're like, damn it, it's full circle. It's hard to go the other way. So like, I believe the best way to help people is the domino effect. You're already being an example for your inner circle, which is powerful. I think, family and children who are able to see us being like embodiment of health and fitness is like the first step. So I think if we can discover ways to show success with long term, it becomes the thing that we do, as opposed to, 30-day abs and all these little programs that you see going online. Like, if we can promote by example, I think that's the key to shifting people's mindset into long term, and making those retirement funds like when they're 16 and 17, as opposed to wait until you hit your 30th birthday and your knees start hurting every time you get out of bed and all those things, So,
Sure.
So my question to you guys would be, what's the key to success with long term? Like, how do we show that? How do we show that this is the way, so that we can have that domino effect on people?
The greatest thing that has helped me with sustaining this has been community. So having that support, people that are genuinely interested and are touching base regularly. I think that would be an important role of encouraging people to break out of that yo-yo mindset as well, is, just having that regular accountability, touching base, because everybody has ups and downs. That's not exactly yo-yoing, right? So dropping into that bottom and then not being able to come out, you don't want to wait until you get to rock bottom, right? If you feel like you're starting to slide and then you can come back up after you've gone down maybe 5%, it's way better than if you go all the way down to 95%. And, coming back up that hill is going to be way tougher. That's more of the yo-yo in my mind. So yeah, having accountability, showing yourself as an example, not to be a braggart in any way, but to show up and say, I wasn't healthy. I wasn't making the best choices in my life, but if I can do it, it's achievable, it's attainable, and encouraging other people to think, well, maybe I don't want to get to that level, but I could get to a level a little bit above where I am as far as health and fitness. So just having the community, having the conversation, having the support, and touching base, and then supporting each other. Because as soon as you start working out with somebody who's never been to the gym before, okay, we're going to go regularly, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to do some workouts. We're just making it a little easy. Next thing you know, something pops up on your social calendar and you're like, hey, I think I'm going to go to this concert on Friday. And it's like, oh, wait, I thought we were going to the gym. So the person that you were supporting is now supporting you. So that it's got to be a give and take. And that's I think the best way.
Yeah, I think community is really important. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people is like really powerful. You get the January New Year, New Me people going to the gym on their own, trying to make it, and the success rate tends to be really low because I don't have someone next to them. I think a gym buddy, is one form. Yeah, like even supportive family though, having a family that maybe aren't doing the work with you, but are supporting you with like the food at home. And how hard is it when you're trying to be on a nutrition plan and the rest of the household isn't? Like it's a drag. It's a drag. Making your own meal, it becomes an obstacle that you're just going to keep hitting every day. I think that's really powerful, Chris. I think that idea of it, surrounding yourself with people who are either similar goals or at least driven. Like I think like all our goals will be very different, but we could still like be a team to move forward. Whether
Absolutely.
you're your 500-pound deadlift or that's cool concept.
Yeah. And I think it is really important to emphasize the mentality that's perpetuated in the world of fitness, because I think that very much pushes the idea of short-term goals, short-term mindset. You mentioned 6 days to a six pack, or like 30 days to like your perfect body, or whatever the kind of BS program is. The idea that you can make changes in a very short period of time is heavily marketed in the fitness industry. And that, I think that's what can make it challenging for people to navigate the difference between short-term thinking and long-term thinking, because I'm constantly, if I want to transform my body, let's say I want to lose some weight, and that's what I type into Google, what kind of programs am I going to see? I'm going to see lose 20 pounds in 14 days, how to get all the weight off within a month, or whatever the program is. I'm going to see all these fitness companies just vying for the kind of marketing rankings on Google to say like, we can get you better results than that other program. We can be faster. We can be better. You'll get better results or whatever. And I think that really is a challenge for lots of people as well. And you mentioned New Year's resolutioners. And I think that's also been an idea that's really been perpetuated in the world of fitness. And I think it's just a fundamentally flawed approach. I'm all for taking inventory of where you are on a regular basis. And if that's annually for you, then that's great. And I understand the beginning of the year can be a really good time to set goals, but understand that the mentality around I'm either going to accomplish my goal from January 1st to January 31st, or else if I don't do it in this short period of time, then I failed this year and better luck next year.
Right.
So I'm going to wait until next January. So I think breaking free of that is really important. And one other point would be that I think there's the idea of labels, whether it's a yo-yoer or whatever, is not like no label is really inherently a bad thing. Like it's not that the term yo-yo dieting or whatever means, hey, if you do that, you're doing something fundamentally wrong, or that's just a terrible approach. It's like I can take kind of like what you said in taking inventory of where you're at and just identifying where you're at with as little emotion as possible, and just saying, hey, like objectively, this is what has been happening and this pattern is not serving me, and I need to make a change in order to ultimately get where I want to go. So I think, yeah, just being willing to kind of confront the reality of whatever cycle you've been in, whether you want to define it as yo-yoing or whatever, and just do that in a way where you're not bringing emotion into it, and you're trying to be as objective as possible, and really just kind of be like a scientist who's like analyzing what you're doing and trying to be as objective about it as possible. And then don't beat yourself up if you realize that the routines that you're following are not serving you, or you realize that, hey, maybe I fit into kind of one of these normal boxes that people kind of tend to lump themselves into, whether it's a yo-yo dieter or whatever. And yeah, just giving yourself some grace to that process and saying, hey, maybe I need some help to figure this out. Maybe I need some people in my corner to build a community. Maybe I need to try a different approach with my nutrition. Maybe I just don't like how I'm training right now and I just need to do something totally different. Maybe I hate the gym and I want to go out and run, or maybe I absolutely hate running and cardio and that's not what I want to be doing and I want to go play pickleball or whatever. I just think it's really important to not bring any kind of preconceptions about what is the right way of doing something or what kind of routines are going to always serve you well and what will not, and how do I, as quickly as possible, just cut out anything that people label as bad or the wrong approach, and just really find an approach that works well for you and integrates in your life in a really seamless way.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said that really struck me was talking about how, you know, a yo-yo dieter is bad, and trying to kind of take a more analytical approach to it instead of an emotional approach to it. Because like you said, if you have negative connotations with that phrase and then you apply that label to yourself and then you start applying those negative feelings and negative connotations to yourself, it's not going to help you get out of that cycle. That's not going to help you get to that healthy place that you really want to be at. Your ultimate goal is to be healthy. And if all you're doing is beating yourself up for not achieving or falling down again, it's going to be hard to dust yourself off and get up again. Whereas if you're tracking and you're looking at, okay, well, this is what I did for these days. This is the result that I got from this number of days, however many of days that is. And I liked what I saw there. Then I see, oh, well, maybe I started to cheat a little bit here or to relax a little bit there. And my pattern changed. And the result of that pattern is not something that I want. So just being, like you said, not beating yourself up emotionally, not getting tied up in spinning your thoughts in a way, and being able to look at, this is the structure that works. This is the structure that doesn't work. Let's get back to the structure that works. Going back to the breath holding analogy again. I mean, pearl divers, they can hold their breath a long time, right? Diving down, hold their breath for 6-7 minutes without even worrying about it. I can't hold my breath that long. Maybe I can if I train towards that. But for right now, this is where I'm at. So maybe my intensity, holding my breath, my intense training schedule is going to go for 4 weeks. And then I'm going to take a week. I'm going to keep training. I'm not going to totally fall off the cliff. I'm going to keep training, but I'm not going to train maybe as intense. And then I'm going to pick up, a week later and go for that 4 weeks again. And then maybe, you start building those stones, those stepping stones, and you get to where, this is just something where I can hold my breath for 8 minutes. I can train with solid intensity. And then I take a deload week, not to get too many technical terms, but I take a step back, let my body recover, I let my mind recover, and then I go back into this long-term plan to give myself the opportunity to have the life that I deserve and the life that I want.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you almost talk about setting yourself like little mini wins rather than hitting that 8 minutes. And I think that's the key. I think we as humans, we want to have success. We want to feel good. And when we don't, we kind of go, I don't feel good. And what you were saying, Leif, is having that scientific approach to going, why is it not working? Let's pick it apart. I think if we merge those two together, you've got almost like the perfect training plan of, okay, I'm going to give myself a little mini win. When I don't get that mini win, why am I not achieving it? What's the reason? Let's work out why and get those mini wins back again so that we can feel good and have the drive to keep moving forward on it. And I like what you said about changing things up, because I think being able to deadlift 500 pounds would not be someone else's definition of fitness. Whereas fitness is all activity, all movement. Fitness is me being able to pick up my kids and like run with them in the field. And then I'm going to go and deadlift afterwards because I enjoy doing it. And actually, I think it's really valuable if you are like a weightlifter, if you take time to experiment with other sports and play games and like play pickleball, because it's fun and you're still moving your body. And it's that kind of like community aspects again. You can do those things with other people and make fitness part of a hobby as opposed to just a program. So maybe you are following this program that you're being analytical about and you're trying to get these certain goals like holding your breath for 7 minutes or do your deadlift. But out of that, I'm still training by spending time with people and making fitness a lifestyle or a hobby as opposed to a program. And I think that if we can turn fitness into that, it is already long term, it is already investment, it is already money in the bank for when we hit 65 or 70 or 102. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the idea, the concept of compound interest is really interesting. And that's I think it was Warren Buffett who famously said, like, the most powerful force in the world is compounding. And he's talking about that from a financial perspective, but I think the same, as you have kind of touched on, is very much true for your health and fitness. And to your point earlier, if you get to 65 and start saving for retirement, then that's not going to work out very well, because you're missing out on decades of compound interest and your money kind of going to work for you. The same thing happens with your fitness. If you start trying to get in shape when you're 65, I mean, kudos to you. If that's kind of when you meet fitness, awesome. Like, there's that old Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So awesome. Like, start now. Don't use that as an excuse for saying, oh, well, I didn't start when I was 45, so what's the point? But if you do happen to be younger, then now is the time to start and invest in your health and fitness, because that's going to pay dividends when you are older.
Yeah,
So
don't wait until you've already had an angioplasty or two to start getting healthy.
set the foundation. Especially, I think, even if you are just generally healthy and you haven't had any issues or diseases or any diagnoses, even if you are healthy, which is a huge blessing, there are different levels of health. So it's one thing to not to have good blood work and not have any concerning issues with your health. But then it's another thing entirely to actually be physically capable and physically fit and really set yourself up for thriving into your 90s and beyond. So that really starts as soon as you're able to. That starts now if you have not started, and hopefully that process has already started. But that's why I feel it's so important for long-term consistency, because I don't want to. I want to minimize any kind of age-related muscle loss, sarcopenia, or any kind of age-related loss of physical ability. I was working on this course. I've been spending a lot of time on this, and I came across this study of older Americans. I forget the name of the study, but it was looking at Americans who are 65 plus and analyzing what their kind of physical limitations and physical abilities are. And I forget the exact number. Maybe I shouldn't be quoting the study, but
we'll fix it in post. It's fine.
It was something incredible. Like 45% of adults over the age of 65 have trouble bathing or using the toilet.
Wow.
And like, just reading that really kind of put it in perspective how absolutely, at least for me, how difficult that would be to struggle with some basic kind of living functionality. And I really, I mean, I'm sure there are a host of different reasons that could become an issue for someone, but at least putting yourself in the best possible chance of not experiencing that, I think is really important. So again, it just kind of really all comes back to long-term decision making and long-term planning, and not just focusing on short-term goals, but also keeping the long-term vision in mind. And I think just generally 80% consistency is super, super underrated. Like I think one of the main drivers of a yo-yo mindset or kind of an all or nothing mindset is the idea that I'm either sitting on the couch and stuffing my face and watching TV, or I'm getting in the gym and just demolishing myself for a 2+ hour workout. And then I'm going to go eat a protein shake and celery.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on consistency? How do you kind of define consistency? And what are your thoughts on the idea that being mostly consistent most of the time actually creates incredible results? Just like saving as much as you can and seeing the effects of that compound, and not just saving like a little bit of money here and then not saving at all for a long period of time and then hopping back on and just kind of yo-yoing with your saving habits. So what are your thoughts around consistency?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I love that we're using these financial,
I love it. It's a little nerdy, but
yeah. So
that totally works
these
for me.
financial analogies, we're going to keep using those. So for that mindset, like if you get your tax return in April and okay, well, I have $3,000, so I'm going to put that in my retirement account. Well, that's great. But if you just took, I don't know, maybe $100 a week, that's $5,200 over the end of the year,
Yeah.
I mean, and that $100 a week could come from something that's not even that much of a cost to you, right? So, same thing with the gym. It's January 1st. I want to get healthy this year, 2025. That's going to be my year. And so again, you take your tax return time in the gym in January and you crush it for January. And then February comes around, it's Valentine's Day, you get yourself a box of chocolates and you're like, okay, well, that fitness thing, that was fine. Even better, take not 7 days a week, like maybe you did in January because it was a 31-day challenge. You take your Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the whole year, and that's going to add up to a lot more than 31 days. So it's not only going to help avoid burning out, it's also going to give you the time and your body the time to really adapt to a new lifestyle. And it's going to give your mind time to adapt to a new identity. So you're going to have the same friends and they're going to see you maybe change your habits, and they're going to maybe see you even change your body composition, and they're going to start to maybe say something here, say something there, think about you different, and you're going to think about yourself different. So over that amount of time, if you spread out your lifestyle changes, that's going to change who you are. And it's not just going to be a program or a short-term fix. It's not going to be like a once and then done. It's going to be a new identity. So for me, like I always thought of myself as relatively athletic, pretty strong, pretty fit, and I just didn't act on those beliefs. So really getting in there and really doing the work kind of helps me reinforce that idea that, yeah, I am healthy, I am strong, but it also helps me look back and see all those bad habits, not necessarily bad habits, but unhealthy habits, Helps me look back and see all those unhealthy habits and think about, well, you're better off now, and taking the time to really put the pieces together. And it doesn't have to be all at once, and it doesn't have to be all the time. Like I've said over and over again, if you want to be able to continue, you can't be in the red the whole time. You can't be at 100% the whole time. 80% is going to get you there. Even, and this is a conversation, Leif, that you and I have had before, even if you just get into the gym for 20 minutes, you had, a 90-minute workout plan, but you got in there for 20 minutes, that 20 minutes is better than the 0 minutes of skipping the entire workout.
Yeah.
So, you can't worry about perfection, the all or nothing mindset. Like you said, you can't worry about, well, if it's not perfect, then don't do it at all. That 80% is going to get you a lot farther than a couple of days of 100% and a lot more days of 0%.
And that going to the gym for 20 minutes it's you making a personality gain. And I like that you said that you're a different like you're becoming a different person. I think that's really like powerful. And like it's interesting because you look back on yourself as being Chris, but like not as healthy or not as fit. But I would say that you were a different Chris. Like this is a new Chris. You create a new identity. So maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the long-term looking, is that we're not just trying to be healthy and fit. We're trying to like create the perfect version of ourselves. We're trying to be a different person. And going just for that 20 minutes rather than not going at all is a mind shift and a personality change rather than that all or nothing. I think you've hit that right on the head there. Rather than making like these training programs, it's making these personal changes with yourself and becoming a new person, or that person that you want to be. It's just trying to find the path in order to do it. But I like that 80%, I think's, even weightlifting, you don't always work at 80% because you will burn out. So like, you're right, just going in and doing that 20 minutes is the way. Yeah, that's really powerful.
I think it's also really important, as you were talking, Chris, I was thinking about why having a sustainable approach is so critically important with your nutrition, with your training. So eating things that you actually enjoy, moving your body in a way that you actually enjoy. Why ultimately is it super important to do that? It's because people cannot sustain something that they don't enjoy. So that automatically creates more of this 0 and then 100 kind of ping-ponging effect, because I can only eat bland tofu with broccoli and celery for every single meal for a very short period of time. And then what do I want? I want peanut butter. I want to hop back and eat some sweets and eat some tortilla chips. And my body is craving things that I'm telling myself I can't have because I'm doing a new fitness program, or I need to lose 20 pounds as quickly as possible or something. So that in and of itself really kind of creates the all or nothing mindset that really ends up just becoming a short-term approach. Short-term thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that you just said was as quickly as possible. So depending on what your goal is, as quickly as possible might be 80%. Because if you're going to go 100% and then you're going to bomb out and then give up, worst case scenario, it's never going to happen. As quickly as possible, you're going to go 80%. You're going to get there. Even if you go 100%, you bomb out and then you get back on the horse and you keep going. That's probably going to take longer, because if it's all or nothing, those nothing days, again, with the investments, those 0% averages, those zeros getting averaged in there, that's going to take a lot more time of hundreds. Even if you average 1 0 in there, if you got 80 over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. What you've just outlined is an approach for somebody who doesn't have the goal, which I really like. Just doing that first step is like your first goal.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's nice to have this end goal that we're aiming for, but if you're not necessarily sure of what that looks like, doing that first investment, putting that first $100 in, you've already started, right? You've already got that mini win, which we talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts to cascade into others. I think that's definitely, I know some people sometimes struggle with, I don't know what my goal is. I don't know what I'm doing. I just want to be fit. So I think your advice from that was just go and do that first $100.
That's why sustainable habits, I think, are so important, because you can kind of maybe get a little lost in a goal because you're not, okay, so this is a good goal, I think, and this is exciting to me, but how does that ultimately come to fruition? It's by just showing up every single day and executing on habits that you know are sustainable. And it's not, I'm going to just, if the only way that you can follow your plan is by just kind of gritting your teeth and saying, okay, this is just sheer willpower and I'm going to just suffer through this. And like, I'm going to wear this badge of honor that I can just suffer for a month. And then, yeah, it might all backfire, but I checked that box and I suffered. And I think that is not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think lots of people that I've spoken with who have been struggling in their health and fitness journey will say, will kind of echo the idea that if this is not really hard, if I am not suffering, if I am not depriving myself in really significant ways, then I must not be doing fitness right. So then that encourages me to just kind of make everything as challenging as possible. And yeah, you can actually get some quick results taking an approach that way. But again, the goal is not quick results, it's sustainable results.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were touching on earlier is kind of the classic tortoise and the hare approach.
Yeah.
So if you have to like sprint and then take a nap and then sprint and take a nap, the guy or whoever who is just kind of plodding along, just checking the sustainable habit boxes day after day and doing, and they're consistent most of the time, that ultimately is the faster approach.
Yep.
And most people don't struggle to make that mental shift, but it's a really important shift to make, because ultimately that's what's going to get you to not only accomplish your goal in a really sustainable way, but maintain it.
I think one of the things that we're kind of dancing around a little bit too is that, like, there's no one fitness plan that works for everybody, right? And that's what has really helped me in this program, is everything being so customizable. So you were talking about like eating bland tofu and broccoli 3 meals a day, 4 meals, 5 meals. I don't know how many meals you eat per day, but eating that for every meal until the end of time. Well, yeah, you're going to get to a point where your mind just breaks and you want to eat that vegan pizza, right? So
I'm not sure it lasts a day.
Yeah. So if you find something that works for you, you know that, okay, Friday night's pizza night. If I don't have pizza night, then that's something that I can't live the rest of my life with. That's something that I want for the rest of my life. That's sustainable. And okay, well, that's what works for you. We're going to find a way to fit this in to your meal plan to make it work for you. I love running with my friend every other weekend. We go out, we do a jog. We're going to do somewhere between 4 and 7 miles. Okay, yeah, I know that that's something that I want to do. If my goal is to get as jacked as I can and be the biggest bodybuilder possible, that's going to pull away from that. But we're going to find a way to make that work together to get to a goal, because that's something that's important to me. And it's not important to anybody else. except maybe my running partner. But, it's not the same thing that works for the person sitting next to me, to my left or to my right, or to the person who hasn't even started a program yet and doesn't even really know what it is they enjoy doing. You start small. Do you enjoy going dancing? Okay, ballroom, great. You're going to burn a lot of calories doing social dancing. So being able to step back and say, it doesn't have to be this one program that I found online from this, fitness influencer that I think looks great and that I want to look like them. I'm not going to just follow their prescription program because that's a program that worked for them. That's not necessarily the program that's going to work for me. Working with the coaches here in VSA, you're going to find a program that works for you and have results that you maybe thought you could never achieve. I
think you've just given everybody a starting point for people who are struggling, is just go and find something that you enjoy doing that involves moving your body. Whether that is like bodybuilding, great. If you enjoy picking up heavy stuff, get in there, and then you'll create a goal. Mm-hmm. You'll create that, right, now I want to pick up this weight. Now I want to pick up this weight. Or if it's running or, pickleball or CrossFit or anything. I think if you've hit it there, if you are enjoying something, it has longevity in it. And if it has longevity in it, you will create a goal. So I will find something that I've enjoyed doing from a health and fitness point of view. And then once I'm there, I'm like, oh, now I really want to do this. I want to be able to lift this. I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's the starting point. You've just given everybody who is not doing anything currently the instruction of find something you like doing, get up and get it done. And then once you enjoy it, you set up. You set up for life. Because there's a reason why people get obsessed with going to the gym. It's because they enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. And if that's not you, go ballroom dancing. That's the way. That's the way.
Yeah, and the same concept applies to any area of your life. So it's like same thing with work. Like what I do, I just absolutely love it. So never really feels like I'm actually needing to, like I work really hard, but I can do it, and I can do it for years and years and years because I actually enjoy what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I have had jobs previously where I looked at the clock every 3 minutes and I just absolutely wanted to be anywhere else on the planet than working in that job. And that is really hard to do. And I think lots of people can probably relate to that, but it's really hard to spend your time, spend your effort, spend your energy doing things that you really do not enjoy. It's just not sustainable long term. And that's true whether it's work, fitness, relationships, anything. So taking those same principles and applying it to your health and fitness journey, and just really, if you have previously struggled with accomplishing your goals and transforming your body sustainably for a long period of time, then maybe just take inventory of that, like we were talking about earlier, and just be honest with yourself and say, hey, I've been struggling with this for a while, and I really don't feel like it's due to a lack of trying, because I think that to the credit of people who yo-yo diet, you have all of the fundamental requirements in the fact that you show up again and again and again to continue working to accomplish a goal that you continue struggling with. You have the foundation required to make long-term sustainable transformation. It's just you need a little bit of a different approach to ensure that it's actually sustainable for you.
Yeah, the desire is definitely there. And it's just like there's not the knowledge, and then there's not the support sometimes too.
Yeah. And that's the hardest. That's the one thing that you cannot give to someone else, is the desire. So if you already have the desire, you are actually a lot further along than you might think or give yourself credit for.
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of dialing in the strategy. And as you've touched on, kind of building a support system around your goals. So yeah, to wrap up, we've been talking a lot about challenge, and I would love to hear from you what's kind of been what do you feel has been your biggest challenge through your health and fitness journey? Regardless of kind of what point along the journey that's been for you, what's been your biggest challenge, and what's also been kind of your biggest win? What do you feel really proud of accomplishing?
Thanks for the opportunity to brag on myself.
Let's hear it.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I think both of these right now for me, and the answer could be different 2 years from now, but for me right now, the answer to both of those are kind of the same. The biggest challenge for me has been sustainability. This is the longest that I've worked out and been thoughtful about my food choices in my entire life. I played sports when I was younger, and the sports season, you had your on season and your off season. And off season, it's not like I was going to the gym to make sure that, I had more muscles to go into the next on season. Off season was off. So, I played hard. I trained with intensity during the sports season, and then I just relaxed. With nutrition, again, we talked about the weight loss challenges. I really dialed in my nutrition for that amount of time for the challenge. And then when the challenge was over, all those good habits that just got turned off. So the challenge for me throughout my life has been finding a way to make it sustainable. And if it's that 80%, that's what it's going to take to have lifelong health and fitness. And I feel really surprised, to be honest, that I have been able to maintain a regular exercise and nutrition program as long as I have. So I joined VSA in October of 22. So I'm coming up on 2 years. And throughout those almost 2 years, that's the longest that I've been able to maintain a health and fitness program. And I'm amazed. I feel really proud. And I'm really excited to see where it goes next.
It's a great answer. And that is really something to be proud of. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. Thank you, Tom, for leading this episode. And hope everyone watching got some value from this. I feel like we pulled out a lot of gold nuggets, and also you got some financial advice too. So take that to the bank.
Yes.
But yeah, really appreciate both of your time. Hope you enjoyed watching this, and please be sure to check us out on YouTube. If you have been watching the audio only versions, we're trying to put as many episodes on YouTube as possible. So you can just search for the Vegan Gym Podcast on YouTube to watch those. And if you prefer audio only, that's totally cool as well. And you can listen to us and rate us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Hope you got value. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.